Elder Myths and Shadows presents Top 7 Creepiest Irish Folklore. Whispers from the old world, where forgotten legends breathe again. Number 7. The Dullahan. They say that when the Dullahan rides, the night itself pulls away in fear. Animals go silent. Smoke hangs motionless. Even the wind seems to stop breathing. He appears on a massive black horse, its hooves hitting the ground with a crack like splitting bone. And on his shoulders, nothing. His rotting head dangles under one arm, its mouth twisted into a grin far too wide to be human. That grin isn't joy, it's hunger. In his other hand, he carries a whip made from a human spine, not to punish, but to announce his arrival. The Dullahan never rides without a reason. There is always a destination, and he only stops for one chilling purpose: to speak the name of the next person who will die. No lock can keep him out. Doors simply unlock. And if you hear hooves behind you on an empty road, don't turn around. He's already chosen someone. Number 6. The Slua. In the west of Ireland, people still glance toward the evening sky with caution. Not for storms, not for birds, but for the Slua, the host of the unforgiven dead. They move like a flock, but their shapes are wrong, twisting, shifting, forming silhouettes that look almost human in the fading light. Almost. The Slua are the spirits of those denied rest, souls too stained to enter any afterlife. So they roam, hungry for warmth, drifting from shadows to rooftops, and rooftops to windows. And that is why old homes in Ireland never left west-facing windows open. Because the Slua only need the smallest gap, a crack in the wall, an unlatched shutter, to slip inside. When they enter a room, they don't scream or rattle chains. They simply breathe. A long, cold breath that steals the strength from anyone sleeping nearby. If the night suddenly grows still, if the wind dies all at once, look up. The Slua travel in silence, and by the time you notice them, they've already noticed you. Number 5. The Banshee. The Banshee is not a monster. She doesn't attack. She doesn't chase. But her presence is enough to turn a warm home cold in seconds. She appears as a pale woman dressed in tattered gray, her silver hair tangled from centuries of wandering. Her eyes look swollen, as if she's been crying for a lifetime. And maybe she has. Sometimes she sits beside a stream, washing a cloth stained with fresh blood. Other times she stands outside a window, brushing her long hair with shaking hands. But her voice is what people fear. When the Banshee screams, it isn't a warning. It isn't a threat. It's a confirmation. A terrible announcement that someone in the family is already doomed. Some say the sound is unbearable, not because it's loud, but because it carries the grief of someone mourning you before you've even died. If you hear her cry in the night, don't go searching for her. She's never alone. She's just the messenger. Number 4. The Abhartach. Long before the world heard the name Dracula, Ireland already had something far worse. The Abhartach, a chieftain so cruel in life that even death refused to hold him. When he first died, the villagers celebrated. But the next morning, he clawed his way out of the earth, demanding a single offering. Blood. A bowl of it. They killed him again. And again. And every time he rose, more twisted, more corpse-like, more desperate for the taste he'd been denied. No grave could contain him. No priest could force him back down. And each time he returned, he walked the village with a stiffness that made his bones creak like rotten timber. Finally, a druid discovered the truth. The Abhartak wasn't a ghost or a man. He was something in between. A hunger wearing a human shape. The druid buried him upside down, drove iron thorns through his body, and sealed the earth with heavy stones. But if you visit the old mound today, you can still see the ground sunk deeper than it should be, as if something inside is pressing upward, waiting for the moment it can rise again.
Number 3. The Changeling.
Irish folklore has no shortage of frightening creatures, but few are as personally disturbing as the changeling, a creature left behind when the fairies steal a human child. It looks like your baby. It sounds like your baby. But something isn't right. Not in the eyes, not in the way it breathes, not in the way it watches you without blinking. At first, the parents notice small things, a laugh at the wrong moment, a cry that sounds more like an echo than a voice, a stillness that feels too aware for an infant. Then it grows stranger. The child begins speaking words no baby should know. Its tiny features seem to shift at night, just slightly, as if the face is trying to remember the shape it's supposed to imitate. Sometimes the changeling drops the act entirely, but only when it believes it's alone. And that's when the stories say you might hear it speaking, in a fully grown adult's voice, practicing the emotions it doesn't understand. Because the creature isn't trying to live your child's life. It's studying you, learning you, pretending to belong in a world it was never meant to enter. And if the real child ever returns, it never comes back the same. Number 2. The Derg Dhu. Long before Ireland feared monsters in the dark, they feared the woman who rose from her grave with vengeance in her veins. The Derg Dhu, the red bloodsucker. Her story begins with heartbreak. A young woman forced into a cruel marriage, trapped, powerless, desperate. When she took her own life, people thought her suffering had ended. They were wrong. On the night of her burial, the earth shifted. And once every year since, she rises, beautiful again, pale as moonlight, her lips tinged with a faint, unnatural red. She moves through the countryside quietly, calling to men with a voice that's soft, sweet, hypnotic. Those who follow her never come back the same. When she embraces them, it isn't affection. It's hunger. She drains them slowly, whispering curses in ancient Irish, curses older than any church, older than any written word. Villagers still place heavy stones on her grave, believing it keeps her trapped beneath the soil. But every few years, someone notices the same thing. The stones have shifted, or fallen over entirely. And that means the Derg Dhu has risen again, searching for another soul to silence. Number 1. The Puka. At first glance, the Puka seems harmless. A shapeshifter, a trickster, a creature that just wants to play. But the stories, the real stories, say something very different. The puka doesn't have a single form. It borrows shapes. A black stallion with burning yellow eyes, a massive dog with fur that moves like smoke, or a tall, twisted man whose shadow bends the wrong way. But no matter what shape it takes, there's always something off. A flicker at the edge of its body, a shimmer like heat on a cold night, as though it's struggling to stay solid. The puka calls to travelers from the tree line, whispering their names with a voice that sounds familiar, like someone they once knew. Follow it, and it leads you in circles until the world feels unreal. Paths vanish, trees shift, and time moves strangely. Some people wake up hours later in a place they don't recognize. Some don't wake up where they should at all. But the darkest stories happen indoors, because the puka can enter homes. It doesn't break in. It doesn't force its way through a door. It simply appears in the corner of a room, half-formed, legs bending wrong, eyes glowing faintly as it watches you breathe. It won't attack. It won't speak. It just stands there, waiting for someone to acknowledge it. And the moment you do, even a glance, even a startled breath, it smiles with a mouth that wasn't meant for humans. Because now, you're part of the game. Thank you for listening. Another whisper awaits, if you dare.